everyone, today we will do Kailash Chandra Dictation transcription number 289. So ready? Start. Mr. Speaker, Sir, Part 16 of the Commissioner's report deals with his investigation into the operation of the safeguards provided for the Anglo-Indian community. Last year, I was severely and even bitterly critical of that part of the Commissioner's report which related to my community. This year, I do not propose to be so critical. The report is a little more full this year, but may I say this to the Commissioner that I think it would have been even fuller if he had maintained closer liaison with the All India Anglo-Indian Association. This body is the only organization representative of my community throughout the country, and if he maintains that liaison with this association, he will be able to secure data and information which he cannot possibly get from any other source. May I say this that I had an opportunity recently of having a discussion with the Commissioner, and as a result of that discussion, I am glad to say some of my doubts have been allayed. I shall deal first with the question of unemployment. Article 336 of the Constitution provides certain reservations for the Anglo-Indian community in certain services. May I say here that my community is facing a fiercely acute unemployment problem. My own estimate is at least 30% of the able-bodied men of my community are today without work. Perhaps it is an affliction which they suffer in common with the other communities in the country at large. The Commissioner has rightly observed that the reservations in certain services for my community are not being filled, but I join issue with him when he says that the reasons are that suitably qualified Anglo-Indians are not forthcoming for these jobs, and that is why these vacancies are not being filled. May I tell him that on the one hand, while these vacancies in certain services are not being filled, on the other hand, there are hundreds not only suitably qualified but perhaps thousands of more than suitably qualified Anglo-Indians who are working on mere pittance. There are several reasons for the same, and the most important ones for these vacancies are not being filled up are, in my opinion, the following. These vacancies are not at all properly advertised. I do not mean that these vacancies are not advertised in the press at all. What I mean is that the papers chosen are not suitable media so far as my community is concerned. For instance, the Hindustan Times may be a very reputable paper which may be widely circulated, but for whatever the reasons may be, it is the paper which is not read by my community. There is no point in advertising vacancies reserved for my community in a paper like the Hindustan Times. Another reason is that the notices of these vacancies are sent out very often extremely late. Sometimes we received the copies of these notices only a week before the last date of application for these jobs. Another very powerful reason is the indifference and unconcern shown by certain departments of government. The Commissioner has observed that copies of notices of vacancies should be sent as a matter of course to my association. The railways and the Department of Post do send them, but I have a feeling that not all the notices are sent. But may I illustrate the incompetence and the inaptitude of certain departments. I wrote in July this year to the Central Board of Revenue asking them that in keeping with government practice, notice should be sent to the head office of the All India Anglo-Indian Association. It took more than several months for the Central Board of Revenue to state that the matter is receiving their active consideration in an ordinary routine matter. With regard to the notices, even after 3 years after these safeguards are supposed to have become operative, the Central Board of Revenue is still giving active consideration to a routine matter such as sending notices of vacancies to my community. This is the reaction of an important, bright, intelligent official who is displaying government's usual alacrity of energy in honoring these professions to the minorities. Then there is a complaint I have received from suitably qualified people who have told me that they have applied under registered cover acknowledgement due, applied not once but applied several times, but they have not been called. For instance, I had to intervene personally with the Railway Recruitment Board operating from Bombay and the Railway Recruitment Board operating in Sealdah. It was only after I intervened personally that suitably qualified people who have applied repeatedly and who for some inscrutable reasons were not considered were called for interview. That is one feature which I wish to emphasize, which is nothing short of scandalous disgrace, but I asked the Commissioner as to why, although certain small reservations are supposed to exist for my community, the Central Excise Directorate gave me a reply which was amazing.